Here we are again. Another diva wide receiver, and this is a wide receiver I love a lot, A.J. Brown. I've gone on IG Live 2 out of the last 3 years to talk to him about the upcoming season. It didn't happen last offseason, but the 2 previous off seasons, we jump on and chop it up. And I told him, over 2 years ago, you're going to be a top 5 wide receiver. I love this guy. But these diva wide receivers, what are they doing? This guy's scrubbing his social media from everything Eagles. I'll read this report here from NBC Sports. And also, Jerod Mayo, congratulations, new head coach for the New England Patriots. We'll get to that in 1 second. But this right here, A.J. Brown knee injury, not at practice Friday. Big concern, right? Walking into this Eagles battle against the Buccaneers, which might be more of a close game than we think. Brown got rid of any mention of the Eagles on his Instagram and deleted his X, aka Twitter account, or maybe deactivated it. We won't jump to any conclusions. Well, I will, as this is actually run-of-the-mill behavior for NFL wide receivers, which is absolutely the case. I don't know what it is about diva mentality. Wide receivers, give me the ball, me, attention to me. I'm a diva. It's the position. It's a weird position that attracts egotistical. And I love A.J. Brown. I'm not necessarily calling him an egotistical, maniac or anything, but it attracts that type of mentality, that type of behavior. And it's like, what is going on? What is going on? Like, I understand no one wants to jump to conclusions outside of this show, but this is my show. I'm going to jump to conclusions. What in the hell is going on? What's A.J. Brown thinking? We're walking into a very volatile situation against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who only scored 9 points last week, and everybody's saying that this might be a game that these Eagles players lose. And I'm not all that convinced that they're going to prove everyone wrong. This is a tough matchup. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the ability to knock off a injured, hampered, unfocused Eagles team. And you got A.J. Brown not at practice, knee injury. He's banged up, scrubbing social media. The pressing issue remains his knee. He went down in Week 18 against the Eagles. We'll get a better understanding of his status when the Eagles drop their final injury report on Saturday. Now, maybe he's doing something weird here, like he's trying to focus or something, but it doesn't make sense why you would scrub social media. Not to mention there's rumblings of getting the football, and it's weird. It's weird timing. It's not great timing at all, A.J. Brown. It's definitely a distraction. And even if you didn't mean to trigger this kind of reaction across social media, which when you scrub your team from your social media, you have to know you're going to create drama. You have to. That if you didn't, then there's something else wrong with you. But he knows what he's doing. And to scrub your team, the Philadelphia Eagles, from your social media right before a playoff game where you're injured and your quarterback's injured, and you're struggling. Your other wide receiver across from your counterpart, Devonta Smith, is on crutches and in a walking boot whenever he comes out the field. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I envision when Devonta Smith comes off the field, they come over with a wheelchair, throw the cast on, give him the 2 crutches, and he starts crutching around the sideline to go get water, and then they rip him off. They send him out there. It's like NASCAR. Like, seriously, Devonta Smith, in all seriousness, after the game, is in a walking boot and crutches. This team is banged up. They can't afford this kind of volatility, A.J. Brown. What in the hell are you doing? Jerod Mayo, new head coach for the New England Patriots. Little curious case of contract placement, wording, verbiage. Hey, he will be the successor. Everyone's wondering why in the hell did this just happen without any sort of interview process, because it was baked into the contract that Mayo would be the successor of Bill Belichick. If Bill was moved aside, they parted ways in mutual fashion, and this man in the contract was said to succeed him. That's why it happened. So, kind of interesting, though, when you think about what kind of verbiage could take and circumvent the interview process regulations that the NFL has implemented, because this does feel like could be a loophole of sorts, contractual verbiage that could set up teams to be able to not have to go through that interview process. I'm just saying, for the future, it sounds like it could be something that comes up. That's all I'm saying. Not saying anything negative about this hire. I like this hire. Let me tell you this. This guy is a disciple of Bill Belichick, but he brings a new, fresh kind of look to the situation. He's very much thought of to coach through love, caring, kindness, instead of stone-faced, discipline. And, you win a Super Bowl and he's looking for a golf cart to take him to the locker room so he can watch film and go straight into the next. Like this guy, Bill Belichick, is not thought to be a people person. Okay, he doesn't have bedside manner. He's not a people person. He's definitely not the kind of guy you're gonna go hug. Okay, remember the guy, the player that tried to bring him his first touchdown ball? He tried to hand it to Bill Belichick, and Bill's like, he just hands it to an assistant. The assistant's like, you don't give a football to Bill Belichick. This guy Mayo would take it. This guy Mayo would hug his player that just scored his first touchdown. That's the difference. He's a good potential players coach. We'll see if it all comes together and if they can put the right pieces in place. Can Mayo put the right delegated pieces in place to help delegate this thing and get this organization back on track? Can Mayo find the right quarterback? Can Mayo identify that he needs a quarterback? Does he think that Mac Jones is his quarterback? If he does, then this is a losing proposition. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. If he doesn't understand what time it is at the quarterback position, it's game over. So we'll find out on that. But Mayo is now, we got one piece of this puzzle board connected, the two pieces put together. Mayo, New England Patriots, congratulations. You have your new coach, New England Patriot fans. Okay, so now we have the rest of this board right here that needs to be figured out and penciled out. We got all the coaches up above here that are potentially in the mix. There's a few other names. We've got Adam Peters, now the GM of the Washington Commanders, and the thinking is that he's going to bring over, according to reports, Ben Johnson maybe to connect this puzzle piece and situation, which I'd be a little bummed because I don't love Washington as a fantasy football output potential situation. There's not a lot of fantasy production coming out of this situation, but it could. Maybe they bring in, because Peters is so good at GMing and finding talent and scouting, maybe they trade for Justin Fields and they turn this McLaurin, Dotson, and maybe bring in a running back that we like. Some people I know like Brian Robinson. But anyway, Ben Johnson is thought to be the target candidate for Adam Peters as Adam Peters takes on his new role as GM of the Washington Commanders. This is an excellent hiring, GM Adam Peters. Let me just tell you that right now. This guy is an absolute phenomenal. George Kittle. Finding George Kittle. How much of a role did he have in the Purdy drafting? Because this guy does a lot of late drafting prospecting. Like, this guy's responsible for a lot of the later calls. Brock Purdy, I don't know how much of that he was involved in, but given he's the one that a lot of people identify as identifying Kittle in late draft selections, I imagine he had a big role in Brock Purdy. So Adam Peters to Washington, you Commander fans should be thrilled. This is maybe quietly the best signing of the entire offseason. Who's the head coach? Who they bring in? Jerod Mayo. We'll see if he knows what he's doing. A.J. Brown, I don't think he knows what he's doing right now, creating turmoil, creating all kinds of havoc while his team's trying to see if they can slip past the Tampa Bay. We score 9 points in one game, Buccaneers. And at this point, I'm frankly a little concerned. And I don't know if I need to change my bracket before we lock this bad boy down. I do believe that Jalen Hurts is capable of almost single-handedly winning a game. I just don't know if he can go further than one round now. I don't know. That's why I do have the Eagles getting knocked off in the second game against the Dallas Cowboys. The question is, will they even make it that far? That's the question at hand. I'm going to open the phone lines briefly, and then your boys got to get out of here. Phone lines are open. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
For those that don't know, AJ Brown either deactivated or deleted his Twitter. AJ Brown scrubbed his Instagram and social media from everything Eagles, and he's MIA. Well, not MIA, but not at practice. Was not at Friday practice. He's injured, and who the hell knows? MIA, upstairs in terms of this team and his focus. I don't know. What's it mean? And look, I did a dynasty wide receiver ranking and a redraft wide receiver ranking, and I got a little bit roasted for not having AJ Brown high enough. One of the commenters said that's crazy. That's borderline insane to not have AJ Brown in your top, I think it was 6 or 7. But this is a situation where, I think we're talking dynasty at this moment, where you talk about a lot of knee injuries and potential injury risk with AJ Brown, a lot of cutting away of meniscus, a lot of knee cleanups, and quite frankly, there's never a situation where your knee gets meniscus cut away that is good. It is all negative. At some point, the knee will break down. It's kind of like when you think of it. It's kind of like this with the knee, kind of like your brake pads on your car. If you've got meniscus here, and here's the knee joint, okay? Here's the knee, the top of the knee, and here's the meniscus. Here's the kneecap. Here's the knee, and then here's more meniscus. So the meniscus is in between the knee joint. Well, it's more like this. If I'm being accurate here, let me see. Where's my eraser? I'll just show my model actually. Where's my knee model when I need it? Here it is. The meniscus in between, if you cut away at it, and the reason I want to show the marker board is to just show that if you cut away at it, and just like a car, if you just like a car brake pads, when you have two pieces of metal or you have two pieces of bone or whatever on this little pad of meniscus or the brake pads, and you start cutting away a sliver of it like that because you have a tear, now you have this thing potentially over time becoming off kilter, and your knee balance is off, and you start wearing down one side of your knee a little differently, and everything's off alignment. And so this guy's had a lot of knee cleanups and meniscus cut-ups, and eventually it's going to catch up to him. So when someone says, Smitty, how are you down on AJ Brown? It's not that I'm down on AJ Brown. I love AJ Brown. Again, I go live on Instagram with them in the off seasons and talk about how amazing he is to his face. But I'm just saying, like, earmuffs to AJ Brown if he was ever to see this. But I think that he's not going to have a longer career than wide receivers that don't have any knee issues or knee cleanup. So from a dynasty perspective, he can't rank inside my top 5 or 6 wide receivers. He can't even come close to my top 6 dynasty wide receivers, because after you get through the gauntlet of MHJ, JJ, Jamar Chase, St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, you start getting through that 5-6 territory of locked in, even neighbors maybe. You start getting right around that 6-7 territory. Then you start talking about freaking guys like Tyreek Hill versus AJ Brown. Like, Tyreek Hill's older, but at some point his knees will make him older than he really is. And what if they kind of tail off at the same time? And then on top of that, you get the more production out of Tyreek Hill for the year or two. So I'm just saying, I don't think I have him anywhere near my top 5, 6, 7 in Dynasty. I think it would be pushing it to put him inside my top 10 for Dynasty wide receivers. Doesn't mean he's not right there. Doesn't mean I don't love him. Doesn't mean I don't think A.J. Brown's a monster when he's on the field and in 2024 if he comes into that season healthy. But where the hell is he going to even be? Is he going to be in Philadelphia? Because it sounds like he's unhappy in Philly. And Philly's unhappy in general. And Philly's injured. And I don't know what the hell we're talking about. What does Philly look like? Philly looks like a mess right now. Philly doesn't look like the same team. If they get knocked out by the Bucks, is Sirianni gone? I think Sirianni's probably fired if they lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you could say that's crazy, Smitty, but you know what? This Eagles franchise is notorious for knocking their head coaches off early. Doug Peterson, this close from being removed from a Super Bowl win, gone. You're at odds with the organization. You're at odds with where the organization wants to go. They'll get rid of you right away. And I don't think Sirianni is all that great. I think he's a good coach. I think he's getting credit for a lot of what Shane Steichen had in place. And I think once he left, we're seeing Sirianni not be able to man the fort quite the same way. We're seeing the offense struggle. I don't think Sirianni was the better man, to be frank with you. Ziggy, off. What's he doing? What's he doing over there? Back there. Appreciate you all. I'm going to be back. We got a super chat from Al. Al says, Peters drafted Purdy, Hufanga, Kittle, and Greenlaw. He's absolutely phenomenal, bro. That's the worst news, Al, you could have woke up to today because you're a Niner fan. I see y'all decked out. Adam Peters is better than quite honestly John Lynch is for your organization. And John Lynch has turned it around in my mind. I think he's done a really good job the last year and a half. He really has. John Lynch, I think, was more responsible for the Christian McCaffrey trade than Shanahan was. John Lynch has really stepped up. John Lynch, the moment John Lynch took his own handcuffs off, when he was beholden to the man that hired him, Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, hired John Lynch, the GM. It's backwards. That should never be the case. You should never have the head coach hire the GM. It's really awkward. It's hiring his own boss. It's really weird. And then the boss is beholden to him. And I think that for a while, John Lynch, he struggled to take control of his role because he just let Shanahan rule the roost, man. But ever since I think John Lynch kind of said, you know what, I'm taking more of an active role, things have turned around in San Francisco. And that's when it happened. Now, John Lynch is great. I'm just saying Adam Peters is responsible for a lot. This is a huge loss to the Niners. And Adam Peters as GM of the Washington Commanders, as he goes on a hunt to try and get Ben Johnson as his head coach, Adam Peters is probably the smartest, most crafty move of the entire offseason. You know, quietly. It's great. It's a great move, and Niner fans should be sick to their stomach because that's a huge loss. That's a huge loss. All right, guys, I'll see you all. Thank you for the super chat, Al. I like your attitude. He says, next man up. That's the way to go. What are you going to do? Sulk on it? I mean, that's the way you act. Good job, Al. Al, fantastic attitude, Al. Al says, I'm hungry. I'm going to get it. I don't care. I'll see you all at 8 p.m. or sooner if more news breaks. Thank you. Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Live whenever big news breaks like this one. See you all later. Deuces.